Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. My name is Muhammad Alif Witanto bin MUJIARTO, and I will present about the introduction. In our country, which has been said to be free from the COVID-19 that's attacked our country in 2019, has caused many issues that have a very bad effect in our country, especially to economic problem. As a result of this pandemic, our country economy has collapsed due to the fact that many of the country economy affairs are not operating because many foreign investors are unable to carry out the business of buying and selling, and the government spend a lot of money to curb the problem the country is experiencing. There is a lot of money going out to help the people, some by hospital facility as a result of the many patients infected with the COVID-19 virus, as well as to buy a medical equipment. In addition, the distribution of subsistence aid for the people in terms of food and ringgit money is necessary for them to continue to survive and survive the COVID-19 pandemic. Because of this, the government has worked hard to stabilize and increase the national income and the economy. Malaysia has been freed from the problem of the COVID-19 issue. The change of the government that happened in our country through the 15th general election has somewhat changed the economy current in the country, which the new policy has been implemented by the government. Our country economy has increased. So in addition, people are free to move both inside and outside the country, and the tourism sector has increased because many foreigners come to our country, which indirectly has increased the economy by selling activity in the country. Export and import activity has been running as usual because the transport service from all sector has been opened, making this activity happen more often and providing benefit to our country by improving the national economy. Therefore, because this is a current state of issue in our country, today has a lot of influence of Malaysia economic status, either directly or indirectly. The government has taken a lot of lesson from the problem that happened before and analyze and continue to work improve our country economy to continue to progress.
Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. My name is HERDIANSYAH bin SUWARDI, and I will present about the issue that arise about pandemic COVID-19 towards our economic growth in our country. There are three issues that I will cover, and the first one is halting all business operation. When the movement control order (MCO) was declared by the Prime Minister of Malaysia, immediately a total ban and mass gather closed all the government and private premises except those involved with the essential service to the country, namely water, electricity, energy, telecommunication, and etc. This order has result in the majority of the people in Malaysia not being able to leave their home and go to work, as most sector of the country's economy have been closed and only certain sectors are allowed to operate. According to the study, large business as well as small and medium enterprise are faced with various operational issues during the pandemic in terms of customer management, supply chain, and employees. The problem of business operation during the pandemic involved a reduction in demand, delay in the receipt of supplies and payment, delay in the fulfillment and delivery of goods, as well as limited technological infrastructure. More than 70% of SMEs are out of operation and around 60% reported having no income during the MCO. Less than 40% of small and medium enterprise were able to survive for 3 months, and 19% of small and medium enterprise recorded loss. 9 multinational companies have closed their operation in Malaysia since July 2020. The second issue that arises is the disposal of workers and the unemployment rate increase. The movement restriction introduced have caused economic activity to contract where consumers no longer make purchases as usual, and this has resulted in supply exceeding demand for goods and services. Due to this, many small and medium-sized enterprises close or go bankrupt due to loss suffered by them. They are reported that some companies are unable to do their business, as well as having difficulty paying employees' salaries, resulting in layoff to minimize operating costs. There are also companies that freeze the hiring of new employees during this period, as well as reduce the number of hour work for exiting employees to enable their company to continue operating. The MCO has crippled the country's economy and has a significant negative impact on the income of the Malaysian population. The Household Income Estimate and Poverty Incident Report Malaysia 2020, published by the Department of Statistics Malaysia, reported the unemployment rate rising to 4.5% in 2020, involving 711,000 individuals. The unemployment rate during the pandemic is the highest rate since 1993. Last but not least issue is national debt increase. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought about an economic crisis that challenged the management of the public finance and increased the country's fiscal risk. Revenue collection has decreased while government spending has increased in an effort to control the spread of the pandemic and revitalize the country's economy. The country's management and development expenditure decreased during the pandemic, but the government has added special provision in various economic stimulus package. The problem that will be difficult for almost all government in the world to deal with is the debt burden that the country is facing as a result of the pandemic. This is because in an effort to ensure that the adverse effect of the economy can be minimized, the step taken by almost all government is to spend more. The main strategy used is through the economic stimulus package, whereby the government will provide various financial assistance to various category of people and business organization. Since almost all previous government were in a state of higher indebtedness, the fact is that the most government will not be able to carry out stimulus package except by adding debt to the existing amount of debt that is still outstanding, and therefore will worsen their indebtedness. That's all for me. Thank you.
The first impact is high unemployment rate. According to official figures, Malaysia's jobless rate reached 602,000 people, the lowest level since the COVID-19 outbreak in October. The Department of Statistics Malaysia stating that the unemployment rate in October stayed at 3.6%, which is 0.3 percentage points higher than the pre-pandemic level of 3.2% in February. COVID-19 highlight the vulnerability of most business, particularly those that depend on air travel and tourism, and it also caused Malaysia's jobless rate to rise exponentially. In parallel, the gig economy and internet trading both saw exponential growth. For many others, the abrupt and unexpected loss of their job had disastrous effects. Secondly, COVID-19 also affected the investment sector in Malaysia. The COVID pandemic has significantly seized the stock of market volatility with jarring drops and impressive rallies. Investment management organizations must make significant adjustments to areas like business procedures and product development if they want to survive as a result of this volatility, uncertainty, and investor reactions to it. The COVID-19 problem has caused chaos on financial markets throughout the world. The efforts to stop the spread of COVID-19 were mostly responsible for this instability, while the ongoing conflict between Saudi Arabia and Russia over oil supply also had an impact. Although conditions have subsequently improved, overall Q1 2020 was the financial market's weakest quarter since 2008. The COVID-19 also affected the small and medium industry in our country. The lockdown had an immediate impact on all sorts of SMEs, upstream and downstream activity. Reduced volume consumption does provide a significant problem, but demand-side effects do so at a greater risk. In fact, the majority of consumer-oriented independent SMEs work in markets with flexible demand. Many of these SMEs have seen a dramatic fall in demand as a result of long unoperated business as consumers face employment worries and financial limitation. Small and medium-sized businesses are more likely than bigger businesses to experience severe resource shortage, making it harder for them to endure the COVID-19 problem. SME frequently experience financial loss, lower sales volume, and also failing in satisfy contract requiring cash flow problems, and also a decline of number of workers and the liquidation of the organization during or after a crisis event.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Alif and I will be present for segregation part. During this pandemic, many people lost their jobs. In other words, they have lost their sources of income to support the cost of living for either themselves or their family. One of the initiatives that can be taken is by conducting a financial relief program or FR program. This program should be conducted by the Department of Financial. Its main purpose is to relieve financial burden for those who struggle due to this pandemic. The Malaysian government can take direct measure by supporting the welfare of the people through income and liquidity support, as this would be enable individuals and business to temporarily suspend work without adverse impact on the ability to remain solvent. As much as possible, the goal should be to allow them to be able to pick up where they left off after the pandemic subsides. For individuals, measures should be primarily aimed cushion the impact of the outbreak on the livelihoods of citizens at particularly vulnerable groups such as the lower income and the unemployed and part-time or gig economy workers. On this day, this is need for the extension of employment insurance. For businesses, the primary aim of stage-on measures shall be to reduce the number of business deaths from the outbreak. On these affected businesses will need cash flow support to allow them to remain solvent during periods of reduced demand and allow them sufficient liquidity to continue paying their workers. In the manufacturing sector, Malaysia manufacturers should be deployed supply chain visibility tools to improve supply chain foresight. By going further into the supply chains, the manufacturer can get more complete profile of where components are coming from their source sub-assemblies. Business leaders should also look at how new tools and technology provide greater intelligence and find ways to model risk and cost. For example, risk evaluation tools that make use of machine Machine learning can find patterns that can indicate risk of opportunity in microeconomic, geopolitical, and global health, exchange rate, and other data. These tools can also rapidly model alternate supply transaction scenario, such as rerouting around of what's going to an alternate source of supply. Studying and working virtually are new norms that we need to adapt to. These new norms will only function well if the internet access is good condition. Others, it will just be waste time of no one will be hear what the teachers or the boss are saying in Google Meet or Zoom. The Ministry of Communication and Multimedia can collaborate with telecoms in Malaysia, such as Maxis, Celcom, and Digi, to conduct a free teledata program, FTD program, which will provide free 3 gigabyte data daily. These programs aim to provide a functional internet connection and the best connection quality through this pandemic. With this way, we can improve our economy during and after pandemic. That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, last but not least, I will continue to present about the conclusion of our report. In conclusion, the issue that's happening in Malaysia nowadays have a lot of impact of the country to increase the economy rate as well the national income, especially for Muslim, for the suspension of the all religious activity in mosques and surau, including a Friday prayers. This order has resulted the majority of the people in Malaysia not being able to leave their home and go to work, as most sector in the country economy have been closed, and only certain sectors are allowed to operate. The problem of the business operation during the pandemic involved the reduction of demand, delay in the receipt of the supplies, payment, delays in the fulfillment and delivery of goods, as well as a limited technology infrastructure. According to the official figures, Malaysia jobless rate reached about 602,000 people, the lowest level since the COVID-19 outbreak in the October. The Department of Statistics Malaysia are stating that the unemployment rate in October stayed at the 3.6%, which is 0.3 percentage points higher than the pre-pandemic level of 3.3% in February 2020. Some of these former workers made it through the difficult circumstances. Some of them, however, found it impossible to cope with losing their career and instead decided to take their own life. Some of these former workers made it through in difficult circumstances. In fact, the majority of consumer-oriented independent SME work in the market with flexible demand. This assertion states that the SMEs strive to the reduce expenses while increasing sale. That will be one of the elements driving the sales. Every organization function and the create to prioritize and maximize the spending while delaying tasks that don't improve the existing situation. Loss of client demand has an impact on the business of small and medium-sized businessmen. Lack of demand was the biggest supply side problem compared to other supply side challenge, which caused the production capacity be sluggish. Consequently, the goal of this study is to examine the effect of trade restriction from the MCO by the government, change in consumer behavior, and change in market demand. All have an influence on how small business function during the pandemic COVID-19. For the conclusion, this program all should be conducted by the Department of Financial for the government to be efficient in restoring economy stability. The macroeconomy policy should give gear to focus on boosting the economy via practice fiscal stimulus. This measure should include measures to increase infrastructure spending and broaden personal tax relief. For individual measure should primarily aim to cushion the impact of the break on the livelihoods and of the citizen at particularly vulnerable group, such as the lower income and the unemployed. And the part-time gig economy workers. For the business, the primary aim of stage measure should be reduce the number of business deaths from the outbreak. For in conclusion, in the manufacturing sector, Malaysia manufacturers should deploy supply chains visibility to improve supply chains for sites. Business leader also should look at how new tool and the technology can provide greater intelligence and find way to model new risk and cost. So for the conclusion, all of them, the economy can grow out and can grow also. Thank you.